Well, here I am on the fabulous Hayfield Lakes, and today I'm going to show you commercial feeder fishing and bomb fishing. I'm going to show you the tackle that I use, I'm going to show you about the feeders, how I put the bait on the feeders and the bait that I'm going to put on the hook. So I'm going to show you my top tips for feeder fishing on commercials. So let's start off with rods. Rods on commercials are really important. Me personally, I like a soft rod. I don't like a rod that's stiff on commercials because I like, a bit like waggler fishing really, I like to use the bend of the rod to play the fish. I think it's really important. And because lots of commercials are not very big, not very wide, I like a soft rod so that it bends through when I'm playing the fish. I think it's really important. The range I use are the MVR range of feeder fishing rods. There's 5 in the range, there's 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. Me personally, I like the 10, 11 and 12 for different distances, and that's all that I use different rods for, are distances. So if I'm going fishing somewhere up to 30 metres, I use a 10-foot MVR rod. If I'm going between 30 and 40, I use the 11-foot, and if I go further than 40, I use a 12-foot. It's as simple as that. The different length rods are for the different distances that you're going to be using. But, like I said to you, I like softer rods. It casts easier because the bend of the rod casts, and also when I'm playing fish, the bend of the rod helps you get the fish in easy. But the length of the rod is about the distances that you're going to fish. With the rods you get 3 tips. You get ½ ounce, 3/4 ounce and 1 ounce. So the closer I'm fishing, I'll use a softer one. The further I'm fishing, I'll use the 1 ounce because it don't waggle in the wind when you're casting out. So with each rod, 3 tips, depending on what style of fishing that you're going to use. Reels and lines, really important. When I'm fishing on the 10 and the 11-foot rod, I like a 4,000 size reel. But when I'm casting a long way, I like a big boy reel. I like to make life a lot easier to use, and I like a 5,500. It makes a massive difference. When you're casting over 45 metres, trust me, a big reel with a big spool makes life a lot easier. But up to that distance you don't need a massive reel. You just need a reel that you can wind against the fish instead of pumping the fish. And the reels that I'm using do that job. But on the reel, you've got to have proper commercial line. It's really important this, and I see lots of anglers who put line on the reels that are not strong enough. And when you're fishing on commercials for carp, you need a strong line. It gets a lot of hammer. It's commercial fishing, you're catching lots of fish, you're being aggressive and everything. And I only use one line, and it's that one, MVR, carp feeder mono. That's the only line that I use. It's fantastic. Just go out and try it. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. And I put that on all my lines whether I'm fishing the 10, the 11 or the 12-foot MVR feeder rods. That's the only line I use. It's fantastic. Now my favourite feeder is one of these. It's a UFO inline feeder. And they come like that. But when I'm fishing up to 30 metres, I don't think you need that long stem, so I just cut mine down. And all I do, I just fill the ends in. It's just my personal preference, it's just what I like to do. And that's my UFO inline feeder. It runs free on the line because most of the fisheries I go to, it's got to be in line, it's got to be able to run free. And I prefer that way anyway. That runs onto a speedy bead, which in my opinion is still one of the best little inventions ever, a little speedy bead, and it protects it from bouncing up and down and stops the fish bouncing up and down in the water. I just think it protects what happens with the fish. It just bounces and stops it. 4-inch hook length, which is something you have to check on your normal commercial fishery. Some places are a bit longer or whatever, but if you're allowed, I just use a 4-inch hook length or a 10cm one, and in this case it's a banded pellet or a banded bait. And I use a CS 27, 18 or 16 hook to 014, 016 MVR hook length line. And that is a simple setup. Putting the bait on is a bit different. But That's my feeder fishing. What about bomb fishing? What about me bomb fishing that we do lots of nowadays on commercial fishing? Well, first thing again, I like an inline bomb that runs free, straight onto a speedy bead again. It's just an inline bomb that's nice and free. I don't like it fixed. Then I use a 30 centimetre hook length with an 18 or a 16 hook, usually with a band on, and that's 30 centimetres long, and that's usually 014 or 016 MVR hook length line. And that's my simple setup. It's not complicated. I try not to complicate it. I like to keep it simple, because I believe the simpler you keep it, more fish you catch. So that's my bomb, that's my feeder. How do I prepare them? When you're fishing the feeder on a commercial fishery, there are three really important things that you've got to do. If you get all three right, trust me, you'll catch some fish. If you get one of these three sequences wrong, you won't. Number one, the preparation of the feeder. The preparation of how the bait you feed goes on the feeder is number one. That's really, really important. Number two is how the feeder hits the water. So when you cast and it hits the water, because if it goes plop, perfect. If it goes splosh, it's knocked all the bait off and your bait presentation is ruined. So it's important that when you cast out, it hits the water correctly and it goes plop. And the third, you all know it, don't move the feeder. Never move the feeder. And if you get them three right, trust me, you'll have perfect bait presentation, you'll catch lots and lots of fish. Get one wrong, you've destroyed it and you won't catch any fish. So, what I'm going to show you are them three perfect ingredients to help you catch more fish. Number one, bait presentation. To fill the feeder, it's one of the three ingredients. First of all, you need a hook length on, which will be 10 centimetres, 4 inches long. It can be an 18 to a 014 hook length. It can be a 16 to 016 hook length. You can use a pellet or a washter, depends on the fishery and where you're going. It really depends on the fish, and experiment between the two to make sure that you're going to get the right hook bait. How it goes in there now is critical. So the first thing is, what I do, you fill the feeder and you press the feeder now, press the 2mm pellets into. Now then, this is something that I've been doing a long time now. What I do now, I get the hook with the hook bait, but I press the hook into the pellets. Now why do I do that? It doesn't come off. I'm obsessed with trying to get the feeder to the bottom without the hook bait coming free as it's falling through the water. So I always push the hook into the pellets so that the hook bait then is in the centre of the pellets. And then all I do then, I get some more 2mm and I cover on the top, press it once and again. And you can see there, you can't see my hook bait. And then with the palm of my hand, what I do, I just press the pellets into the feeder. I can't see the hook bait. What happens now is that goes to the bottom like that. The water pushes the pellets up in the sponge and leaves a hook bait laying on the top with a few pellets around the edge. If you're not sure how it works, just try it in a bowl of water at home. You can see how it works. But I'm obsessed with getting that hook bait inside the pellets because I don't want the feeder to break up while it's going through the water. My main objective is to get that feeder to go onto the bottom and then break up. So the fish home in and they take all the free offerings to see your hook bait, pick it up, got you. That's all I'm obsessed with. I'm always trying to look for things that gets that feeder to the bottom before it breaks up. For me, that's the perfect setup. So I've got my bait presentation absolutely perfect. Number two is how it hits the water. So that's number one. It's all correct on the feeder. Number two, how it hits the water. It needs to go plop. If it goes plop, it means that it's landed like that. If it goes splosh, it means it's landed like that and all the baits come off on your hook bait. And you're never going to get a bite. So you've got to make sure that it goes plop on the water. And the way to do that is this. If you've got a clip, you set the clip at the distance that you're going to fish, or you can just stop it with your finger. Some people can, some people can't, but if you can't, just put it on a clip. But it's important that when you cast out, you bring your rod back, so that as you're bringing it back, when it hits, just before it hits the water, it hits the rod and pulls the rod slightly down, so it cushions it and it goes plop on the water. That's the correct way. What I try and do in my head is if I'm fishing 25 metres, I think 27, so I'm just over casting. Don't try and cast it 35 metres, because what happens is it springs and comes back. So you're just looking to go past the distance that you require. And all you do, you pick your target, you get your feeder out and you put it in front of you with a metre line between you and the tip, point your rod at your target, you bring it back past the rod, left hand on the book, cast, back, plop. And it goes to the bottom then, I follow it down and it goes to the bottom. I know then that it's gone with a plop, so I know it's gone to the bottom, it's now on the bottom in one piece, it hasn't broken up, and of course, number 3, don't move it. You mustn't move it, because you never move the feeder. And if you'll get them 3 sequences right, trust me, you'll catch lots and lots of fish. The preparation, number 1. Number 2, how it hits the water, and number 3, don't move the feeder. Just get them right, practice them, get it right. Trust me, you'll have perfect bait presentation, you'll catch as many fish as you want. Sometimes when you're fishing the feeder, the fish don't want to come to the feeder for some reason. I mean, end of the day, like it, the fish, we don't understand everything about them. Sometimes the feeder don't work, and sometimes it's better to fish with a bomb. I use an inline bomb running onto a speedy bead, 30 centimetre up length, and just with a banded pellet. And the idea is to loose feed pellets. So you're doing 2 things, you're creating some bait and also some noise. Some noise on the water with the pellets hitting the water, falling through the water, and sometimes the fish feed a little bit different, and sometimes that is the best method of catching them. That's why when I go fishing, I always have a feeder rod set up and I have a bomb rod set up. Simple setup, and all I do, I cast it out where my loose feed's gone, exactly the same, cast it, plop, let it go to the bottom. When it's got to the bottom, just put it on rod rest, set it up, pick your catapult up and just feed a few pellets around the area that you're fishing. And for some reason, the fish prefer to feed that way. I don't know whether it's the pellets that's falling through instead of just coming to a little ball of pellets on the bottom. I don't know. All I know is sometimes it's better than the feeder. What you've got to do as a fisherman is work out which is the best method on the day. But trust me, both methods catch fish and both catch lots of fish. They're 2 great ways of fishing. Now, one thing about this game, commercial fishing, you don't get little bites. You really wait for them to hook themselves. It's really important that. Don't be striking at line bites. And it's one of the reasons why I have my rod on my right hand side, is so that the angle of the rod, the fish will pull round. To me, that's really important. Most anglers have it across them and that way towards the left, but I like it down my right side. And the reason for that is it's called hands-free. So what happens is, I put my rod down and my hands are free. I can feed all my other lines, I can catapult bait out. Oh, little carp, look at that. Nice. There we go. You don't pick up unless they hook themselves. And that's exactly why my setup is this way. So I try to keep it as simple as you can get. Pellet's still nice, so all I'm going to do now is cast it in the spot, straighten the line out, going down to it at the bottom, put the rod on the rest, just tighten the line up a little bit, put the rod on the rest, so I've got a nice, the modern angler, what he likes to do, he likes to cast out and put the rod in front of him. I don't get that at all. I don't really understand why they put it, apart from I think when you go that way your rod is straight, you have to use bigger hooks, bigger hook lengths, and I don't think you catch as many fish. But I like, at an angle, I like a 70 to 90 degree pull, so the tip goes round. It means I can get to the bend of the rod quicker to play the fish. I think that's really important. That's my way of fishing. So between the tip and where I'm fishing is going to be 70 to 90 degrees, so that when I get a pull, the rod pulls round, I can just pick it up and play the fish that way, and I'm at the bend of the rod, so I can pull against the fish against the bend of the rod. To me, that's really important. So I'm set up perfect. I've cast in, I've fed me loose feed, I've put my rod down, and I'm hands free. So if I want to feed me margins, I'm not affecting the rod, and I get a bite like that, pick it up. And everything, the fish has hooked itself for me, and I'm not stretching over me, the rod's not over my body, it's not in the way, and it's nice and simple. So now I've got a fish on, I've got a carp, use bend it rod, and when you get bend it rod, you can play the fish. The bend of the rod is like a piece of elastic, it's like your pole elastic. Bring the fish close, bring it in. If it goes to the right like that, just turn it and bring it back. And if it goes to the left, obviously turn it that way until you can get the rod up, get the fish close under the rod where you can pick it up, there you go, and net it. And if you get that right, you've got perfect presentation, and if you've got perfect presentation, your fish will pick it up. That's the way that I fish the bomb and the feeder. So here we go, a nice one, nice cat. They're really feeding on the loose feed pellets, but like I said to you, some days the pellets is better than the feeder and the other way around some days. It's just what you've got to do, you've got to work it out. Oh, look at that, it's a nice fish. Look at that, whoa, lovely minnow carp that, look at that. Oh, come here you beauty. Look at that. Oh, that's £8 of anybody's money at least, maybe bigger than that. Look at that, it's a bobby dog, it's a fat one that. So, if you get your bomb and your feeder fishing right, you can catch fish just like that. Finish off with a beautiful mirror carp like that. What a beauty. So that's feeder fishing, bomb fishing, the way that I do it. So I hope you've learnt a few tips. I hope you enjoyed that video. Hopefully it helps you catch some more fish. Thanks very much for listening, Tight Lines.